Hey guys, it's Josh here from the Final Whistle Pod. Today we're back with another video, not yet a full episode. To be honest, we did lose some of the footage from, I know, our highly anticipated AFC North episode. But once Jared gets back from vacation, we'll be able to reshoot that, get you guys our first full episode. So hopefully when he gets back, we're going to be able to get that to you guys. But the topic of today's video, it's going to be similar to the last one that we got out yesterday, but instead football related. It's going to be top 5 NFL offseason moves. It's going to be structured just like yesterday. We're going to go through a couple of honorable mentions, some moves that I liked, and then we're going to get to my top 5. So let's jump into it. So, to start off my honorable mentions, I'm going to start off with Tyron Smith. Now, Tyron Smith, in my opinion, is one of the all-time greats at the offensive tackle position. I think he's a future Hall of Famer. But in this latter stage of his career, one thing that has haunted him for sure is injuries. In the past 4 years, he's had a season where he's played 4 games. He's had another season where he played around 2 games, I think. This last season was a bit better. He played around 13 games. I don't think that's a bad tally at all. And I think that if he's healthy for the Jets this year, I think it could be a big addition. This is a team whose offensive line hasn't always been the most stable. So I think adding Tyron Smith, a seasoned veteran, one of the all-time greats, at such a safe price as well, a 1-year, $6.5 million deal. I don't think that's a bad deal at all for a Tyron Smith level of player who was just a second-team All-Pro this past season when he was more healthy than he had been in the past. So I think that if Tyron Smith is healthy for the Jets this year, he could be a great signing for them for the value they got him at. Next, we're going to move on to Saquon Barkley. I mean, one of my favorite players in the league, an incredibly explosive player who's been behind an awful offensive line. I mean, watching those Giants games as a Daniel Jones and a Saquon Barkley fan, it was awful. And while Daniel Jones wasn't at his best this year, shout out my guy Zach Shear. We're still a part of the Daniel Jones fan club. It's still the offensive line's fault. That's a bit of my delusion showing there. I know he has his flaws, but I still love him. But yeah, especially with the Andrew Thomas injuries this year, the Giants' offensive line was awful, and Saquon still managed really close to 1,000 yards. So I think moving to the Eagles, one of the best offensive line units in football, if not the best, can catapult Saquon back to his prime. I think he could be around 1,400 rushing yards, something crazy like that, because Saquon is such an explosive player. He's such a great athlete. I think this Eagles offensive line could take him to the next level of his career. I think that the money they paid him, I don't think it's bad per se. I think when he's put in a good situation, I think he can be one of the best running backs in the game. I'm talking top 5. So I think 3 years, $37.45 million, I think. I don't think that's a bad deal at all. While I understand, well, no, actually, I don't understand why the Giants were willing to pay that, because while I love Daniel Jones, I can tell in the public eye he's not very loved, and that's for obvious and good reasons. I understand. But paying him $40 million, and then when Saquon wants his money, you want to be stubborn about it. This running back's a replaceable thing. I understand it sometimes, but sometimes it goes too far. And this time it went too far in the case of my boy Saquon Barkley. So I think that the Giants made a mistake, and now a division rival has come in and swooped in for Saquon. 3 years, $37.4 million. I don't even think it's a bad deal at all for a player who is going to thrive in this system. I will guarantee you now, Saquon Barkley will put up at least 1,300 yards in this Eagles system. So I really love that move. Next, I'm going to go with Hollywood Brown. Hollywood Brown is a lesser move than the last 2 I spoke about, but I think that we all know Patrick Mahomes. We know Patrick Mahomes is the best. And one thing Patrick Mahomes is really good at is excelling at bringing up his receivers, elevating his receivers better than they were before. We saw this with Kadarius Toney in stretches. Sky Moore had a touchdown catch in the Super Bowl. McCole Hardman has looked solid at times. I think even Justin Watson, they talk about a lot in the Chiefs as they love him as a guy. I think that Patrick Mahomes really excels in these situations. He's a good leader. He's able to bring his receivers up and elevate them probably better than they actually are. And I think that what Veach has showed us in these past couple of years is that Mahomes does not need a number 1 receiver to succeed. He can do it with these guys. Rashee Rice was a guy who was not a first-round guy. While he led the nation in receiving out of college, he was not a round 1 guy. He came in, was the wide receiver 1, and put up a very, very solid year. I think that Mahomes doesn't need a number one guy, and I think Hollywood Brown has the tools to fit in this Chiefs system well. He has good burst of speed, good explosiveness, good sprint speed downfield. I think that he can fit in this system very well. Obviously, he showed us flashes in that last year of Baltimore. He cracked that 1,000-yard mark. First year in Arizona was not too bad, put up 700 yards. This year he came down to 500. I think with the Chiefs he could get back up to that 700-yard mark with his explosiveness, and I think that this is a good signing for the Chiefs. I don't think the money is bad. It's 1 year up to 11 mil, so that's with incentives and stuff like that, add-ons. So I think that's a good deal, especially with the current scope of the wide receiver market. I think that's a fine deal for a Hollywood Brown level player. Moving on to an impact player on the defensive end, we've got Brian Burns. Now, I really like Brian Burns as a player. His sack total didn't hit above 10 this year, but that's not what it's all about for me. I think on this Giants team, I think across from Kayvon Thibodeau with Sexy Dexy in the middle, I think this Giants defensive line can be a force to be reckoned with. I think that the Giants just needed like one more impact player on the defense. Kayvon Thibodeau finally came into his own. Dexter Lawrence, you already know about his game, but adding Brian Burns, I think, is a fantastic move. I think Brian Burns with his 8 sacks, his 16 TFLs, 18 QB hits, 35 pressures, and he was a very good run defender last year. I think all these things can help the Giants a lot. So yeah, I really like that move for the Giants. I think that Brian Burns could be a big addition for them. I still really don't believe in this team. I think as long as this offensive line continues to struggle, I think DJ will continue to struggle, but I think that Brian Burns is a nice move for the New York Giants. Moving on to my last honorable mention, it is Russell Wilson signing for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, the money on this deal is what really sells me on this deal. This is an upgrade on Kenny Pickett. I don't think there should be any debate on that. Russ is a good game manager with upside, and they signed him for $1.21 million on a 1-year deal. I think he is a legend of the game who at this point is a good game manager, like I said, with a bit of upside. And I think Russell Wilson really, really represents this franchise well. I think that he is somebody that fits in with the culture very nicely in Pittsburgh. And I think that this is going to be a great signing. I think the Steelers, while I don't believe in their wide receiver core completely, I still don't think they're going to lose that losing record. The winning record streak, and I think that some of that is going to be down to Russell Wilson and how cheap they were able to get him. So, to start off my top 5 moves of the NFL offseason, at number 5, I have Patrick Queen to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, I love this move a lot. I love Patrick Queen as a player. I think he's fantastic going downhill, and a lot of people are doubting how he's going to succeed in this Steelers system. I think he's going to be just fine. I think he's developed as a player. Some people are saying because when Roquan came into Baltimore, he was able to just focus on going downhill, and that he was kind of one-dimensional. I don't think so at all. I think he showed solid flashes all around the field and pass coverage last year, and I think that he can be a very good player for the Steelers. I don't think the money they paid him was crazy. 3 years, $41 million. It's going to put him around the 5th highest paid middle linebacker in the league, which I think is a good price point for a linebacker of Patrick Queen's quality, and I think this is a nice splash move for the Pittsburgh Steelers. This year, he put up a career high in tackles at 133. He had a pressure rate of 25.5%, which ranked the 6th highest amongst linebackers. He hit the quarterback 6 times, 9 TFLs. So I think this is a good signing for the Steelers, a nice splash signing on that defense to make it even stronger than it already was. At number 4, this one makes me sad. L'Jarius Sneed to the Titans, one of the best corners in football in my opinion. In my opinion, he is top 3 in the league. They paid him good money, 4 years, $76 million. This is the guy who shadowed number 1 receivers the most in the NFL, allowed no touchdowns, allowed 4 yards per target, and I think that he is a fantastic player. I think the Chiefs had to let him go because his contract probably would have been too expensive for us. But I think that him as a player is fantastic. I think it's a good addition to Tennessee. They're bringing in a top 3 player at his position. I think that that's just a great move regardless because of how good he is. how good L'Jarius Sneed. I saw him down the stretch in that playoff run. He was fantastic. Throughout the whole regular season, he was fantastic. Him and Trent McDuffie were fantastic to watch in that secondary for my Chiefs, and I'm really, really, really sad to see him go. But Titans fans, you've got a good one. So, moving on to number 3, I have King Henry, Derrick Henry, going to the Baltimore Ravens. I think this team is going to the AFC Championship. The defense is still fantastic. You still got Saquon Smith and other spectacular defensive players, Marlon Humphrey. On the offensive end, you have your guy, Lamar Jackson, Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman. These are all solid pieces around him. But that running back position, while it was good last year, Gus Edwards had a strong year last year, Lamar Jackson was still the leading rusher on the team. And that's been the case for a while. But with this signing, that changes. King Henry last year still put up 1,100 yards and 12 touchdowns, closer to 1,200 really. And I think that this changes everything for the Ravens. Now, if you try and play Derrick Henry, Lamar's going to kill you on the ground or with his arm. That's developed really nicely over the past couple years, in my opinion. If you try and focus on Lamar, Derrick Henry's going to kill you. Against the Titans, teams were able to stack the box. That's not happening with Lamar Jackson on the field. So I think this team is going to be a force to be reckoned with. Both of their rushing threats with Derrick Henry, King Henry as I like to call him, or Action Jackson. I know it's getting a little corny. Lamar Jackson, I think with both of those rushing threats on the team, I think this can be a fantastic football team that will lose again to the Chiefs in the AFC Championship. So, moving on to number 2, I've got Danielle Hunter going to the Houston Texans. The first number I just want to say is 16.5 sacks. Absolutely fantastic. I think this was a great move for Houston. He put up 41 pressures last year, 2 years, $49 million. He's the 7th highest paid edge rusher in the league. I don't think that's a bad price point for a guy who put up 16.5 sacks with 41 pressures. He's an older guy. He's about 30 years old. I think 2 years is a safe contract length, and I like it for the Texans. I think that if it doesn't pan out, it's going to be a quick contract, which I very much doubt it's not going to pan out. Danielle Hunter has been a fantastic NFL player over his entire career. He has dealt with health a little bit in the past couple of years, but I think in his past 4 full healthy years, he's averaging around 15 sacks a season. So I think you know what type of player he is just from those numbers. And finally, at number 1, the number 1 you've all been waiting for, Kirk Cousins, my guy. You know what I'm saying? One of my favorite athletes in the world. I think he's incredibly underrated. I think the public perception of him is unfair. That's my guy, man. You see the post-game or the pre-game speeches from that guy, you run through a wall for him. But other than that, other than his leadership off the field, other than how great a guy he is off the field, if you guys want to see about that, go watch Quarterback on Netflix with Kirk Cousins. It really shows you how even more of a great guy he is. But on the field last year, this guy was stellar before he went down with injury. He was on pace for 4,900 yards. 38 touchdowns. He already had a 103.8 passer rating, which finished 3rd in the league, a 63.2 QBR that finished 7th in the league. And this move for me makes the Falcons division favorites immediately. Now, I know some people aren't going to like this contract because he's an older guy. You're paying him, giving him a 4-year deal at $45 million per year. I think that with a guy like Kirk, you know what I'm saying? I love Kirk. With a guy like him, I understand why you guys are, some fans are complaining a little bit, but I think that he can bring something new to your team. I think he can unlock. I think you guys have Falcons fans. I think you guys have 2 generational prospects on your team. I think he can unlock them. Bijan already had a great year last year. He had around 1,468 scrimmage yards last year with 8 rushing and receiving touchdowns. I think that's a great year for a rookie player. Kyle Pitts, he's been on the downtrend since that rookie year. Went from 1,000 yards to 300 yards, back up to around 600 yards last year. But I think that with Kirk Cousins getting him the ball with, in my opinion, great to elite quarterback play. I think that's the range where Kirk is at. I think that can rejuvenate his career once again. And I think that Kirk being in Atlanta raises the ceilings. I forgot to speak about one guy. Drake London. Drake London is a great player in my opinion. Put up 900 yards last year, which is a very solid year in my opinion. And I think that with Kirk Cousins, I think that is only going to get better. I think Kirk Cousins can help and aid the development of these players long term. I really hate that Michael Penix pick, though. I really do not understand that at all. I really did not like that pick at all. I think you go in on the team now so you can try and win now as fast as you can with Kirk Cousins. I did not like them taking Michael Penix because by the end of his rookie contract, he's going to be around 27, 28, which, oh my goodness. So I really did not like that move. But the move of them signing Kirk was fantastic. Kirky, that's my guy. So that'll be it for my top 5. Just to conclude, repeating it again, my number 5 is Patrick Queen, linebacker going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think this move can help them a lot. He's an explosive player, good downhill, just put up a career high in tackles. At number 4, I have L'Jarius Sneed. I think he's a top 3 corner in the league, and I think that he's a great addition to the Titans, one of the best corners in football in my opinion. At number 3, I have Derrick Henry. He is going to take over the leading rusher mantle for the Ravens from Lamar Jackson. I think he's a new threat to this team that makes them almost unstoppable on offense. At number 2, I have Danielle Hunter, a guy who put up 16.5 sacks last year, and I think he can be a huge addition for the Texans. And at number 1, finally, I have Kirk Cousins to the Atlanta Falcons. I think with the quarterback play that he showed last year, I think he can elevate on this team immensely. And I think with this move right here, they just became favorites for the NFC South by a long run. So thank you guys for watching. Go follow our socials, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. If you guys agreed or disagreed, let me know down in the comments what it was about. And about that full episode, as soon as Jerry gets back from vacation, we're trying to get that reshot for you guys, get it out as quickly as possible. So once again, hope you enjoyed this one, and we'll see you in the next video.